The woman clearly married the nobleman, Sea Dragon Man, but on the wedding night, he went with his useless brother. Only because the woman used animal drug to force the Sea Dragon Man to unite with her. But the Dragon Man, being the protagonist, easily discovered it. Instead, he threw the girl to her brother who had been paralyzed for 8 years. After the night, the girl not only gave birth to 2 cubs that could not transform into beasts, there was also an egg that had not been able to break after 2.5 years. She greatly despised her husband and the puppies. Every day he beat and scolded them constantly. He also mocked that they were all dragon snakes, unable to transform into dragons. Finally, after she brutally destroyed the egg she had laid, the 2 puppies and their husband, angry, became villains, joined forces to kill the woman. However, at that moment, I, who had just read the end of the novel, suddenly found myself in this Beast World novel. He also threatened by saying that the next time he dares to approach Suijin and Yunsei. Besides, I was in the 4th year of my marriage to the useless brother, but I had just woken up. And I found out that I was on top of the Sea Dragon Man, Link C. 2 minutes ago, he had been affected by the aphrodisiac of the original. I was lost in lust, pressing on my body. I, who had barely arrived, had never seen a scene like this. Frightened, I broke her private part with a kick. He pushed her to the ground again. I hadn't had time to get up. The front door was kicked in suddenly. A female voice, thin and soft, but full of anger, rang out. Sui Zhao, you're a scoundrel. It was the protagonist, Sui Hin, who had come with her brother to rescue the main man. Without giving me time to explain a word, she was already expelled by them, along with her luggage. He also threatened that the next time he approached Suhin and Yunsei, there would be consequences. She would hit me every time she saw me, looking at the strange horns on the man's head. And also those familiar names. My head finally cleared. This is really having crossed over to a book, according to the memories of the original. Right now, it's the 4th year of her marriage to the big villain Ling An. Every day after marriage, she spent her time harassing the male lead and harming the female lead. At home, then, she made fun of some puppies and her husband, causing people around her to hate the original at the thought of being eliminated by some puppies and her husband. The scene of being eliminated after becoming a villain. I couldn't help but shiver. So if I start being nice to them now, could I get back the plot they killed? Thinking about that, I put on the load and went to look for those little puppies. Beastmen are grouped into villages. Several villages form a large settlement, because Lingan is too poor. He could only take a few cubs to live in the village, the most remote place. I won't say it's inconvenient, and every now and then there are enraged magical beasts and attacks from other beastmen's settlements. Following the memories of the original host, I spent more than half an hour arriving near the house. Who would have thought it? I hadn't approached it yet, when I heard the laughter and mockery of a group of little beastmen, among whom were some drowned holes that were familiar to me. By pushing aside the dense, broad leaves, the scene in front of me filled me with fury instantly. I only saw 6 or 7 half-beast teenagers, bullying 2 3-year-old human-like children, after knocking the 2 children into a mud puddle. The young beasts continued to mock that they were all useless. They are already 3 years old and still cannot speak. The sister, surprisingly, is still an egg. Not only did he threaten the 2 children, but he also expelled them from the village. But they also wanted to steal the sister's egg to roast and eat. Hearing this, the 2 weak cubs became furious. One of the boys launched himself like a cannonball. Jean ran towards several half-beast teenagers, but before he could throw his little fist, he was kicked in the abdomen by a beast man with goat horns. They kicked him straight back into the swamp. Even though pain invaded his entire body, he pressed his thin lips tightly. He didn't let out a single groan. His body, without transforming into a beast, could not. To face a body already transformed into a beast. Several boys were laughing mockingly as they surrounded the 2 weak little guys, just as the young deer raised his fist to strike again. I couldn't hold on and ran away. A sweeping kick knocked him to the ground. Everyone was shocked by this sudden scene. Isn't that Sui Zhao, recognized as the useless one by the whole village? A thin and short female. Where did so much force come from to overthrow the recognized one? The mighty beastman's servant? The young servant rose from the ground in disdain. He showed off his sharp horns. Filled with rage, he threw himself at me. once he was pushed by the servant's horns. It could be gutted. Meanwhile, the two boys who were in the swamp were staring wide-eyed. They never imagined that mother who despised them so much wishes that he had not been born. It will appear at this time. The cub Ling Xuanjing, who was in front, pursed his lips even tighter. He held on for a moment, but he still stepped forward to try to help me. However, his younger brother Ling An grabbed his arm. "Big brother, did you forget how he treats us in his day-to-day life?" Suanjini clenched his small fist. In the end, he listened to the advice and stopped his steps. However, his gaze remained fixed on me. This body, although weak, but fortunately, in my past life, I fought in a rescue team. He also graduated from the police academy. Dealing with a wild young man with no attack skills is pretty easy. When he tried again to use his horns to prick me, suddenly, I moved nimbly. Then, I slapped the young servant on the waist, causing his whole body to crash into the big tree next to it. Not only did he break one of the antlers, but he also fainted immediately. After that, I looked sternly at those in front of me. "The few remaining young orcs," he returned while snorting coldly. "Aren't they leaving?" "They're waiting for me to teach them a lesson one by one, perhaps remembering what happened to the young servant and frightened by my gaze. The young orcs who are afraid of the strong scattered. 2 of them even took the young servant away. But after chasing away the orcs who were bothering the cubs, the 2 little ones showed neither admiration nor surprise in their eyes, but their glances towards me became more fearful. My expression stiffened, remembering how the original treated the puppies with beatings and scolding. Suddenly, I felt that it was understandable that the 2 little guys were so afraid. I didn't pressure them to change their minds about me right away, seeing that now they could not move in the mud. I decided to go straight into the mud. With one hand, he pulled each of the 2 little ones inside. He didn't expect the 2 brothers to be so light. He looked more carefully again. Their bellies exposed, their ribs were well marked, their little faces highlighted a pair of dark eyes, which made their eyes look even bigger. This was clearly a sign of malnutrition. Suanheng and Suanhan were suddenly pulled out of the mud by their mother. They fought, instinctively, full of fear. "Brother," Suanheng pleaded in a tearful voice. "Don't hit the brother. If you're going to hit someone, hit me." I was the one who took my brother out. It turns out that puppies are afraid that I will hit them to prevent him from having a stress reaction. I had no choice but not to touch the puppies again. I said to go home first, and I kept walking forward on my own. The 2 puppies saw that I didn't hit or scold them as usual. After a moment, they carefully followed me. But when I saw the house, I was impressed. In front of me are only 2 ramshackle thatched roof houses, and there was one more with a collapsed roof that was semi-open. Inside and outside the cabins were a lot of messy things. You could tell they were old things that others discarded. However, they were things that the puppies carefully carried back each time. Although these things were broken, it was very useful for the puppies when they needed it. It's also because the 2 puppies spend all day picking up broken things that the others don't want, that they are bullied and teased by the beast children of the village. Seeing the messy house in front of me, my eyes were filled with pain. I didn't imagine that puppies lived like this on a daily basis. The original mother didn't really do anything for her children. Smell the indescribable stench in the air. Immediately, I put down the luggage I was carrying and began to clean the garbage in the house in a determined way. Originally, he was standing in the small courtyard, silently watching my movements. They immediately changed their expression. The 2 men burst into the room like a cannonball. With their small, frail bodies, they raised their arms to block me. Looking at me with angry eyes, "You can't sell your sister. He is still very young. You wouldn't even be able to sell it on the black market for a good price." Ling Xuan, for his part, pleaded with sad eyes. "You rest assured. Later, we will take care of the sister. We will find food for the sister. We definitely won't cause you trouble." I was stunned by the actions of the 2 cubs. I just wanted to tidy up the room. The 2 cubs thought that he was going to look for Sister Lynn Simpson. "From now on, we will take care of the little sister. It's all the original owner's fault." He had said more than once in front of several puppies that if they misbehaved, he would sell them, even if they were all useless. But on the black market, you could always exchange for some money or food. Especially the younger sister, Lin Zingsheng. She's still an egg. Maybe some types of beasts. People who buy it will benefit a lot. I bent down and suddenly stroked. I just stroked the heads of 2 puppies. I assured them quietly. You rest assured. Mom just wanted to clean the house. I won't sell the stars. That said, while picking up, I paid attention to the location of the egg. The 2 little ones were following me nervously from behind. They were afraid that he would do something to his sister. Soon, while moving the garbage accumulated in the corner, then I saw one the size of a watermelon. An egg of its own color is lying there. The whole egg glowed like snow. There is a circle of golden waves at the top. It looked like a crown on the egg. Very nice. The egg seemed to sense that someone was outside. Suddenly, it made a soft baby sound. The older brother and the second brother have returned. The 2 little guys behind me said hurriedly, "Don't be afraid, Stars. The older and second brothers are right next to us." Yes, he is back. I tilted my head slightly. It seems that the 2 little guys have a strong prejudice against me. They don't even call me a mother. However, after hearing that, the egg was overjoyed. He jumped in place until he reached 8 meters in height. Then, I heard a childlike voice full of surprise and joy. "It's just that Mom is back. Sing Mrs. Mom very much. Mom, hug me. Sing adores Mom more than anything." I thought the original didn't like the 3 puppies. He didn't expect the younger sister to have this attitude. For a moment, I was stunned in the place. Sing received no reply. The egg's head seemed to be filled with question marks. "Mom, are you gone?" The next moment, I then reached out and hugged the egg as if it were a watermelon. Then I stroked the egg's head. "Mom is here." At that moment, the egg seemed to be in the utmost happiness. The whole egg emitted a soft glow. Murmured, "The smell that emanates from Mom is very pleasant. Sing Sing will always love Mom. Mom, don't leave Sing Sing, yes? Estrella, eat less from now on. I don't want to cause any trouble for Mom." The nervous puppy gave instructions. Stars are assured. Mom won't leave Sing Sing. I looked around. The cabin was dirty and messy. I can't let Sing Sing stay here. So I hugged the egg and walked out of the cabin. I put some old clothes on a clean stone. Then I carefully placed the egg on the old clothes. Then I turned to the 2 hatchlings behind me with an expression. The nervous puppy gave orders. "Take good care of your sister. I'm going to put the house in order. I'll go back and make you something to eat." My movements were agile. Not even an hour. The trash from the 2 thatched huts was removed and discarded. Only a few pieces of linen cloth remained that were useful. But after this cleaning, in fact, I discovered that in the 2 thatched houses there is not a single wild fruit. I really don't know what those 3 poor puppies ate to grow up. I bit my lip. I closed my eyes slightly. Consciousness sinks in. Soon a small personal space appeared in front of me. Space is something I already had in my past life. It was only 3 square meters. It was full of the food I had prepared before. I was about to take out some to cook. But as soon as I entered the space, I only frowned slightly. The space changed. In the small space, there was a fuzzy fog everywhere, and there was an additional square button. 2 words were written on it. Registration. My expression became strange. Instinctively, I went to tap the record button. The next moment, the fog completely disappeared. In front of me appeared a fountain that emanated a cool breeze. I'm a little dumbfounded. I got the eye spring by signing here. I tried drinking once. I immediately felt that the fatigue in my body had largely dissipated. My stomach, which was rumbling with hunger, wasn't so hungry anymore. I felt changes in my body. I raised an eyebrow. I grabbed a few pieces of meat. Then I filled a can of spring water before leaving the space. As I carried the food outside, I smiled and said, "It's getting late. Big brother and younger brother, go get some firewood. Mom will feed them right away." Hearing this, Sing Sing was the first in animal. The egg moved happily twice. He was still screaming with his mouth. Sing Sing loves the food that Mom makes. Although it is an egg, its appetite can be compared to that of an ox. The 2-week cubs were even more surprised and opened their eyes wide. "Is there absolutely nothing in your house? Where did this bad female get the food? And it's meat too. Meat!" Because from the moment they were born, they cannot transform into beasts. I don't have sharp claws or a beast body, so they can't hunt prey. Normally, I can only eat meat because of Dad. But since his father got sick, they haven't eaten meat again. They can only go into the forest to pick up some durians to eat. That is why they are so weak. Ready. The two cubs quickly hugged each other. They put a small pile of firewood next to me. I moved fast, too. In my past life, I was a professional rescuer. Frequent training in nature. I had all my survival skills maxed out. I quickly set up an improvised stove, washed the steak with spring water, and then basted over the fire. Suddenly, the aroma of the oil floated in the air, making the three pups drool as if they were 10 kilos of saliva. But soon, his Anjan frowned. This bad female is just like them. She has a useless body. Normally it can't even catch a rabbit. How can there be meat today? Is it meat that they brought specially? Preparing to deceive them. His small fist at his side couldn't help but clench. In reality, bad women get even worse. Even her Ling An looks at me with more distrust. As he roasted the meat, he watched the puppies. I soon guessed what they thought. But you can't really say I got it from somewhere else. After thinking about it, I explained. Don't overthink. The things are what I brought from my parents' house. But after hearing it, the two cubs became more cautious. It leaves me speechless too. So I decided to ignore them, let them think what they want. The meat goes into the mouth. Most importantly, I'm not hungry. Only the stars cheer me up. They always praise how well I grill the meat. I see that the meat is almost ready. I take a knife. Then cut the stag fragrant into strips of the right size, seeing how they clench their teeth to not let saliva fall. I yell at the puppies to eat while it's warm. Hearing that he called them to eat, Zhanging and Xuanan's eyes were shocked. Before, whenever there was something delicious, the villain always ate it all in secret. Don't feed them anything. But this time the villain didn't even ask for anything. He fed them so much delicious and tasty meat. Isn't this really a death trap? To see how they gritted their teeth to keep from falling. Not only do I find it funny, while I firmly stick the chopsticks in the two brothers. In his hand, he urged them to eat quickly. Zhanging, doubtful, is going to use chopsticks to take the meat. However, his Anan tugged at his brother's sleeve. Brother Gao, don't eat. The bad woman is suddenly so kind to us. It's really suspicious. What if he's put some drugs in this? What will we do then? Hearing this, Zhanging's outstretched hand froze in the air. I looked at them out of the corner of my eye. I immediately guessed the concerns of the two puppies. But I didn't let it be seen that I was upset. Instead, he put a piece of meat in his mouth. I began to chew, enjoying it with my eyes closed. It was an indirect way of showing them that meat had no problem. Zhanging and Xuanan finally couldn't resist. Hunger and gluttony in the stomach. He quickly stuffed a piece into his mouth. The two little ones had never tasted anything good. Suddenly, as they bit into the juicy and tender steak, they immediately felt like they were eating a supreme treat. They wished they could taste it a little more before swallowing it. And Star absorbs nutrients from the food through the eggshell. The food next to him was quickly consumed, feeling the tender, juicy steak seep into the eggshell. Estrella moved the whole egg. Then I received the sincere Star compliments. Hearing them, my heart felt warm. Although Star was still an egg, she is really very understanding. So the original even decided to abandon them, seeing that the three puppies were satisfied eating. My tense heart also relaxed without me noticing. The corner of my mouth showed a slight smile, but soon I noticed something strange next to me. The strange movements of Zhanging and Xuanhan. These two little guys actually ate while hiding. In fact, they hid half of the steak they ate. Are you afraid that if you eat this, you won't have food afterwards? So first they hide apart. When it's really time for the next meal, there will be nothing to eat. You can still take something out for emergencies. But the weather here is a bit hot. If I really wait until the next meal, the food spoils at this temperature. Eating it could harm your health. Mass flicker. Finally, I decided to pretend I hadn't seen anything. See what the two puppies will do with the hidden food? After enjoying a delicious meal, I pick up the utensils. I take them to a small pond nearby to wash them. The three puppies stayed in place. I feel like I've never eaten so much. So satisfied. If you can eat enough each day, They would be willing to let go of certain prejudices about that female. They sound a little nervous, he told his older brother. Big brother, the female from before, didn't notice our movements, did she? Zhang Ying shook his head, was silent for a moment to calm his brother down. He shouldn't have noticed, if he found out, with his personality. Do you think he would say absolutely nothing? Lin Suanan heaved a sigh of relief. So tonight, let's wait for that female to fall asleep. Then we'll set off to look for Dad. Zhang Ying nodded. Very soon midnight arrived. I, who was pretending to sleep, heard the two little ones get up in silence. I was worried that they would have some mishap, so I got up and followed him quietly. Half an hour later, the two cubs arrived outside a cave. After pushing aside the thorns blocking the entrance, they entered the cave. I, without knowing it, was even more confused. Why do two cubs have to come to this cave in the middle of the night? By thinking about the strange things that could happen. At that point, I followed him more closely. We walked for about 5 minutes. Suddenly I saw a little light ahead. I quickly hid. I leaned out slightly to look in his direction. He didn't expect that an adult dragon man C was lying next to the two cubs. On the man's forehead was a strange symbol of red flames. It's exceptionally beautiful, but his face is pale as snow. Two puppies are kneeling next to the man. Their faces are filled with worry and anxiety. They scream, "Dad, we have brought you meat to eat." Seeing that the man is still with his eyes closed and not moving, the two took his arm and shook him gently. They even take out of their pocket a piece of steak that was left. He was trying to make the man eat him. But it doesn't matter what they do. The men did not wake up. Gradually, Zonan begins to get nervous. "Brother, what do we do now? Dad seems to be weaker than before. Now he can't even wake up." He was only born a few minutes before his brother. Zhang Ying can't think of a solution either. His small face is full of discouragement. He bit his lips. "Dad will be fine. We're here with Dad." Wait for Dad to wake up. At that moment I understood it too. Man lying on a stone bed. It was Lin Yang, the villain from the original book, the biological father of these three cubs. After the original protagonist was kicked out by the Su family, he didn't immediately return to Ling An and the cubs. Naturally, there is no description of Ling An's current condition. Now it seems that Ling An's condition is probably not good. Since those events from the original book have yet to occur, the puppies have yet to become villains. Then Ling An's prejudice against the original owner shouldn't be too deep. If he had saved Ling An just now, perhaps in the future we will still be able to coexist peacefully. The puppies also shouldn't be caught in the middle, making them difficult to handle. After thinking about it, I came straight out of the shadows. The two cubs heard the sound of footsteps. When I turned around, I saw myself. Immediately they were shocked and frightened. Immediately he wanted to use his slender body to block Ling An behind him. Sun Hing, even more cautious, asked me how I was here. I smiled with resignation. Mom fears that you are in danger. He wants to follow them to protect them. Hearing this, Suanan's voice, who was also on guard, softened. I beg you not to hurt Dad. Dad doesn't live at home anymore. When he feels better, he will help us get married. She will bring us food and things for you. What do you want? Dad will give it to you. After hearing Suanan's words, I frowned. It turns out that the original owner not only always hated and despised Ling An, but also used him. Ling An probably did it for the cubs as well. That is why he could bear to be commanded by the original. No wonder Ling An hates the original so much after having her own strength. Again, I'm glad that a lot of things in the book haven't happened yet. There is still a chance to recover something. Taking a few steps forward, I personally petted the two puppies, Suanjing and Suanan. Mom just wanted to see how your dad is doing now. I didn't want to hurt him. You can see I don't have any guns now. I can't transform into a beast, just like you. Although his father is a black snake. But at least he's from the sea dragon tribe. Normal weapons and a body transformed into a beast cannot injure it. Although the two puppies know that what I say is true. Their looks still reflect doubts. Although he let go of the hand that stopped me, his eyes are still fixed on me. I do make some inappropriate moves. Even if they have to risk everything, they'll make sure to protect Dad in the first place. I tried to feel Ling An's breathing, and only breathed a sigh of relief when I found that she was normal. As long as he's not dead, he's fine. But its temperature is abnormally high. Her lips are pale and chapped. It looks like you've had a high fever for several days. Now we have to lower the temperature. Then I told the two puppies to stay here with their dad. I went out to get some water to refresh his father. Without waiting for his Anjem and Anan to accept, I hurried back to the cave. Then his eyes lit up with joy. That bad female will not be taking advantage of it to leave again, and then, as before, he will never come back. But seeing his father with that expression of suffering, although they didn't want to trust that bad female at all, even so, they couldn't help but repeatedly look towards the entrance of the cave. After leaving the cave, I didn't go to fetch water, but instead went into the space and took out a bag of spring water. Then I ran back quickly. When the two puppies hit me, their eyes sparkled with happiness. The bad females did not abandon us. Dad is saved. I poured the water out of the water bag, moistened the towel. I carefully wiped Ling An's forehead, cheeks, and palms, after repeating it several times. Finally, I covered his forehead with a damp cloth. In general, he looks less suffering. Although Ling An's cheeks were still red, his body temperature had dropped a little. The truth is that he looks less afflicted. After resting, only then did I remember that Sing Sing was alone at home. So I argued with the two puppies. He first takes Ling An back to the hut and takes care of him. Hearing my suggestion, the two puppies looked at me with wide eyes, disbelief on their faces. Is this bad female sick? Clearly, at first, he was the one who despised the father. I wouldn't let Dad live at home, so Dad had to find an abandoned cave to live in. Every time his blood was unleashed, I can only suffer alone in the cave. Now, does he really want to take Dad back? The two cubs' doubts towards me grew even more in his heart, instinctively distrustful if there was some plan behind what he was doing. For example, selling it taking advantage of the fact that Dad was sick, but looking down and seeing Dad so weak, they were really worried about leaving Dad alone in the cave. Moreover, none of them could transform into beasts. They're still not as angry as I am. Right now, I had to rely on my strength. After careful consideration, the two cubs nodded their heads. Suong Hing didn't forget to add that, don't worry, as long as you help us take Dad back, we will take care of Dad. We definitely won't cause you any problems. Dad is amazing at hunting. As soon as Dad feels better, it will bring us many, many animals, enough to get us through the winter. Listening to what the puppies were saying, I just thought it was funny. They even knew how to paint a dream for me. I don't care if they agree or not. Then I picked up some branches and sticks outside the cave. We went back to the cave entrance and looked for some sturdy vines. I made a simple stretcher. Then we placed 2 more rounded stones at the bottom as wheels. Afterwards, the 3 women made use of all our strength. Put Ling An on the stretcher. Taking advantage of the skill of the wheels, we dragged him back home. What's weird is, at this moment, in the eyes of the 2 little guys, I felt less rejection and distrust towards me. Only the other thatched hut wasn't ready yet. Ling An suddenly came back. The 4 of us could only curl up in a bed to sleep. Until that moment, I finally had time to take a close look at the man in front of me. The man had a prominent nose and deep eyes. The pattern of flames on his forehead gave him an evil air, just because of their appearance. He was really more to my liking than the male protagonist in the books. In addition, there was a subtle aroma of bamboo leaves on his body. It was very nice. It doesn't smell like Link C, the male lead. That was nothing but disgusting. Perhaps the road was too bumpy. Ling An, surprisingly, had a fever of 51 degrees. It is even more serious than before. When he saw the dirty and torn clothes he was wearing, I took it off without even thinking about it, to avoid dirtying the clean bed. However, I still left him a little dignity. I left him a pair of breeches to cover his modesty. I didn't think Ling An looked thinly dressed. When you take off your clothes, you can see that you have meat. I looked twice and didn't dare to look again. I quickly threw a beast skin blanket over him. And over again, I wiped down the areas where it was cooling with a damp cloth. I was like this for 2.5 hours. Ling An's temperature, on the other hand, was not dropping, but rising. It was really causing me a lot of difficulties. So I had to draw water from the spiritual spring again. Clean your crotch several times. Only in this way did he manage to lower his temperature. If Ling An wasn't in a painful coma now, I already begin to doubt that Ling An is flirting with me. After cleaning up, I quickly put a beast skin blanket on it. Eye that does not see, heart that does not feel. At that moment, I too couldn't stand sleep. He was asleep leaning on the edge of the bed. Until dawn broke the next day. Only then did I slowly wake up. The two cubs were already awake. They were sitting on the bed looking at me with their big eyes. Evidently, they were taking care of their father. I reached out and tested the temperature of Ling An's forehead. It was almost 40 degrees Celsius. It had not burned again. So I swapped for a damp cloth and put it over his forehead. Then I took Sing Sing out to sunbathe. After placing Sing Sing on the beast skin, I went to the clay stove where I cooked yesterday. I stealthily pulled a few handfuls of rice and a small piece of meat out of space. I was planning to make them some light porridge, but just as I had started cooking the porridge, Lin Sonen quickly ran over here. Carefully, he laid some eggs beside me. I found that Suanan had an expression of sadness and pain. These are the eggs that Dad picked up when he was getting married before. Now that Dad is back, we can't always eat yours. These are the ones my brother asked me to bring as breakfast for you. I took an egg. He glanced furtively aside at his Anan. I found that his Anan had an expression of pain and grief, but when I cracked the egg, I discovered that it was cooked. And it also gives off a strange, rancid smell. This egg is cooked, I asked with a stiff mouth. Lin Suanan nodded. Of course it's cooked. Otherwise, how would we eat it? These are the ones that my brother and I have hidden for a long time. But they are very delicious. If it wasn't for Dad coming back, we wouldn't have taken them out. The implication is that I'm tapping into Ling An's light. But I can't really eat the stinky eggs he brought me. This thing smells like excrement, he said with his small, cold face. Suanan seems to have understood my thinking. Her soft little face immediately became serious. He bent down and picked up some eggs with his clothes. Then, he took away the stinky egg that I had partially opened in my hand. He said with a cold expression, "Since you despise, then don't eat. My brother and I ate together. Even if you make breakfast, we are not going to eat it." After speaking, her dwarf hugged the eggs and ran back to the hut. I left there, dazed, crouched. I didn't think the puppy was so small, and that their emotions were so sensitive. I let out a sigh. It seems that the complicated situation left by the original still needs to be handled. Soon. The lean meat soup in the clay pot is now ready. A special fragrance emanates from the ceramic vase. Everything around the cabin was impregnated. We both started eating without worrying about anything else. I made 2 bowls of porridge and left them at the door, I exclaimed, admiring how delicious it smelled. It made the 2 little ones unable to stop swallowing saliva, but when I called them to come and eat, the 2 brothers flatly denied and said they would only eat egg. I didn't insist either. I prepared 2 bowls of porridge and left them at the door so they could come and have whatever they wanted. Then I poured myself a bowl for myself and another for Sing Sing. We started eating without worrying about anything else. After Sing Sing took a sip, he became even happier and started humming beside it. Inside the house, the 2 puppies were still struggling to peel the egg. However, the egg that had been peeled turned out to be gray, and besides, it smelled very bad. They almost vomit just when they have it in their hands. It's okay for them to eat healthy once, but Dad is sick. I estimate that once I eat an egg, Dad will leave. Food is not easy to come by. The 2 puppies, accustomed to poverty, were sad and didn't want to let him go. I saw them raise their hands to their mouths several times. I don't dare to eat. He smiled and asked, "Didn't you say you wanted to eat eggs with Dad? Why don't they eat them yet?" As he provoked them like this, his Anjin gritted his teeth and said, "There are only a few eggs. Not even the 2 brothers have enough to eat. How can we get Dad to eat? Besides, Dad is still in a coma. This egg is hard to swallow. What will we do if Dad chokes?" After saying that, he stuffed the peeled egg into his mouth. He thought that if he ate these stinky eggs, Dad wouldn't have to suffer anymore. This scene scared me. I quickly ran towards Suanjing. I pulled him out of the house. He urged him to hurry up and vomit. Otherwise, eating this jam could make you sick. Suanjing looked at me with a stubborn expression. Inside was a watery glow that was pitiful. He kept his lips tight. It seemed that he was still trying to swallow the egg. I quickly patted him on the back with my hand. It was then that Suanjing couldn't contain himself. He vomited the egg in his mouth. I went to fetch water for Suanjing to rinse his mouth. Then I picked up the remaining 2 eggs. I kept those damn ones. I promised them that I would lend them this egg first. Return them fresh in 2 days. This time, Swang-hing and Suan-an looked at me without objecting. He obediently sat down at the door to take his porridge. I waited to finish my breakfast. I took a bowl of porridge and sat by the side of the bed to feed Ling An, who was unconscious. And so, Sing Sing couldn't for 3 years. His survival instinct led him to swallow everything automatically. Then I went to organize the cabin next door. Let the 2 little guys take good care of Ling An. The rest of the time is spent using the water from the spiritual spring to cook for them. These 2 days have been quite fruitful. Until the 3rd day, when he would take Sing Sing to sunbathe as usual. I noticed that a circle of golden wavy patterns had appeared on her eggshell. When Sun Hing and Sun Han saw the change in their sister's eggshell, they were also filled with disbelief. This is a trait of evolution, because their parents are useless. So from birth they were considered degenerates. It is recognized that the potential and strength of degenerate orcs are low, and Sing Sing couldn't do that for 3 years. Incubating in 3 years is even rarer, but now Sing Sing has evolved inside the egg. This means that it will have infinite potential once it hatches. Perhaps it will evolve other special abilities as well. In this world of beasts, all the powerful beastmen have their own special abilities. Advancing means enhancing one's own abilities and special characteristics. Evolution and leap in capabilities. For example, the elder Xianfu from Rice Village. Its special ability is to make it rain. However, his special ability has never evolved. It can only make it rain in a small area of a few square meters. But it was precisely thanks to this ability he became the chief of Daiwa village. He managed to give the beastmen of his clan a certain position in the village of Daiwa. Hearing my happy compliments, Sing Sing, even though she was in the egg and couldn't see it with her own eyes, was very happy. Immediately, he began to cheer tenderly. It's all thanks to Mom taking good care of her. That's why Sing Sing became strong. Sing Sing loves Mom very much. Sing Sing comes so close to please me. Normally, the 2 brothers would frown upon hearing it, but this time they were hand in hand, standing to the side, with an expression of joy for his sister. At the same time, the 2 little ones are also looking forward to their day of evolution. I don't ask for much. If they could transform into a beast, it would be fine. That way they will no longer be bothered by the young people of the town. I am relieved and reassured by Sing Sing's compliments. It is probably because of the water from the spiritual spring that I give it most often. That is why it can evolve so quickly. With joy, I lifted Sing Sing. I hugged him and started spinning happily, not noticing at all that Ling An, who was lying down, had already woken up. Just when I was immersed in joy, suddenly a Bigfoot kicked me with all my strength. This change came too suddenly. Although in my previous life I was a member of a rescue team, I could not react immediately either. An instinct caused my body to turn away from the vital parts. But even so, my body still flew out of control. Then he fell heavily to the ground. He made a hole in the fragile chosa. Fragments fell everywhere, making me look completely disheveled. The star in my arms was also snatched earlier. This change happened in an instant. No one could react. When I managed to lift my head with effort, only then did he realize that this kick was given by Lingan. But I remember that in the book, when we got to this part of the plot, the relationship between the original owner and Ling An was not the same. So bad that they even fight among themselves. What I never imagined was that this Ling An in front of me was actually someone reborn. He remembers that in his past life, it was, at this time, that villain was like this, laughing wildly as he hugged the star. He then threw the egg to the ground in fury, causing the child to die instantly. This is the eternal pain in Ling An's heart. So the first thing you have to do after you are reborn, I just have to get rid of me before my time. Lose. The first thing that man did when he was reborn was kicking his wife from 8 meters away, just because in her past life, this evil female laughed madly hugging her daughter. Like this, then suddenly killed her daughter with 1 blow. But how could he know that the soul within his wife had already been replaced by another? My body won't be strong. The thatched hut made a hole. My whole being seemed extremely disastrous. But I remember clearly, the book doesn't mention that Ling An would beat the original owner. What they didn't know is that Ling An had been reborn. They were only thinking of murdering me, this bad woman, as soon as possible. But he was still sick. Right now in a hurry. He had already exhausted his last bit of strength. I didn't have the ability to kick myself again like before, so I was very tense emotionally. He hugged Gunshin even tighter, who was holding him in his arms. And he was full of distrust of me, who was fallen. The three cubs were confused. No one expected it. The first thing Dad did when he woke up was to kick Mom. Although Suenin and Swanjing were always steadfast, no one expected it. But what happened just now, Dad was definitely to blame. In the end, Sing Sing was squeezed tightly by Dad. Sing Sing was the first to react. She waved it vigorously in her father's hand. Grandma Sing Sing's voice was full of worry. "Mom, how are you?" Sing loves Mom, although I couldn't see what was happening outside. But it is very sensitive to emotions and external noises. A moment ago, I was clearly in Mom's arms. Ling An narrowed his eyes slightly. She looked at her little daughter in her hands. He was both angry and furious. That evil woman, clearly. He wanted to throw it to the ground. Why was her daughter protecting her? I didn't expect that in such a short time. The daughter has already been deceived by an evil female. The man persuaded Sing Sing with a low and slightly hoarse voice. "Sing Sing is obedient. Dad is with you. I'll find you delicious food." He recalls that in his past life, his daughter loved good food. As long as he entertains her to feed him, she will obey him without hesitation. But now Sing Sing has changed a lot. He groaned twice in complaint. Sing Sing doesn't want to eat what Dad gives her. Sing Sing loves her mother. "Mom, where are you? It hurts. Sing Sing will blow you." This drop was not slight. It was very difficult for me to get out of the rubble. I just feel like my whole body is sore. I scratched several parts of my knees and elbows. Fortunately, bones have no problems. Lingan's sudden attack made me. Her liking for him fell to a minimum. The little sympathy he still felt for Ling An completely vanished. I laughed coldly. "Since you have woken up, you have the energy to throw me away. So you don't need my care. So, solve your own food." After telling him this, I immediately softened my expression. Not forgetting to inform Shinchin. Mom is going to tend to her wounds. He will accompany Shinchin again later. Shinchin plays with her siblings first. Sing Sing felt that the atmosphere in the hut was strange, so he quickly acceded. "Mom, go quick. When Sing Sing hatches from the egg, it will help Mom rest. That way Mom won't feel pain." I smiled a little. He left the cabin in a state of embarrassment. I went to a small pond nearby to tend to my wounds, if it weren't for the three little ones next to me. I don't know the depth of Ling An. He was afraid that he would reply to Ling An in kind, an eye for an eye. But he saw that I left bluntly. Nor did he take any revenge on him. Ling An was stunned for a moment. How is it that this evil female has changed so much since the past life? His handsome face was frowning more and more, until I disappeared from his sight. Ling An momentarily froze in place. His body felt as if it had been freed. His staggering body went straight to the ground. This frightened several of the children. Suan Hind asked, worried, while stroking Lin An's arm, "Dad, where does it hurt? Do you need any medicinal herbs?" "My brother and I will go out and get it for you." Ling An reached out and touched the heads of the two cubs. Then he shook his head and said, "No thanks. Herbs won't do Dad any good. Dad's body will heal on its own." He knew that he was in the stage of exaltation of blood. This is the inevitable suffering of the degraded beast every year. Each time he manages to resist, he can ascend. They have all come back from the dead after multiple lives and deaths. But the exaltation of blood is too painful. Many of those who are degraded beasts did not manage to resist. Ling An is a degenerate snake from the Shao clan. The suffering he endures is 100 times greater than that of other beasts. A degraded lineage had not appeared in their race for a long time. Suddenly, Ling An appeared. Her parents were ridiculed and shunned by members of the tribe. That's why his parents hated him very much. Without parental care. Every year, when Ling An goes through the exaltation of blood, they have all returned from the dead in critical situations. He remembers clearly this time is his last exaltation of blood. As long as he overcomes this period of weakness, he will be able to rise again and become a member of the Shao clan. He knows that having a degraded lineage isn't necessarily a bad thing. Its Anan is more careful than its brother. He gently touched his father's exposed skin. Immediately, he was frightened and withdrew his small hand. Dad, your body is so hot it looks like it's going to reach 100 degrees. We cannot continue like this. He quickly went out to fetch water. He scrunched the damp cloth. Imitating as I did before, he was wiping Ling An's body with the damp cloth. Ling An frowned slightly, uncomfortable. Who taught them this? The two cubs looked at each other with dark eyes and pursed their lips. In the end, it was the eldest, Xuan Ying, who answered. She was the one who taught us. We saw that she had done this before. After cleaning it with the damp cloth. Dad, his high fever is soon down. Sing Sing is still an egg. I can't help much from here. I heard my older brother and second brother talk about my mother. She quickly nodded, as if to say so. Mom is amazing. It is okay. Ling An heard what the cubs were saying. You can't worry about the pain in your body. The expression on his face immediately became grave. By this time, the two little guys were already mimicking my way of starting to cool Dad down. The damp cloth cleaned the palms and armpits. Immediately after, the little ones took the damp cloth and began. Clean Dad's groin. In an instant, Ling An's face darkened. He pushed the little ones away. A slight blush appeared on his pale face. Then he asked if that woman also cleaned like this. Suanan was surprised when Dad pushed him away. He nodded, not knowing what to do. Seeing the reaction of the little ones, Ling An's face became darker and redder. He looked down and saw that he only had one pair of underpants left. The figure of an adult man became evident. He felt even more embarrassed. It's not necessary, Dad can do it alone. Where are Dad's clothes? Dad, your clothes are torn. This is nothing like that obsessive madness. He said he had to mend it before he could use it, Xuan Hin responded. Hearing this news, Ling An's face froze. Doesn't that mean you don't have clothes to wear these days? Ling An silently tugged at the bee-skin blanket next to it, covered over it. Hearing that he had been dragged out of the cave by a bad female, Ling An suddenly felt a chill all over his body. In her past life, she despised him, as much as in this life she would try so hard to save him. This is nothing like that obsessive madness which his female brother could have. This bad female has suddenly changed so much. Did she also have some extraordinary affairs? Or maybe he has reincarnated like him. Thinking like this, Ling An's pale face looked even more evil. If that's the case, the situation for the four parents and children is not good. What that bad female did can only indicate that she has bigger plans. Before he could understand the situation, Dad's temperature couldn't drop. Little by little, it was eroding his consciousness. It made him suffer so much that he wanted to roll on the ground. Where had the little ones seen Dad in such pain? Suana keeps putting a damp cloth on Dad's forehead, but it didn't matter how hard they tried to clean up. Dad's temperature can't go down. Even his skin had become red from the heat. Sing Sing called out with concern. Older brother, second brother. Let's go quickly to look for Mom. Mom will surely have a solution. Suan Hing and Suanan looked at each other, although they still hate bad females. But for Dad, they are willing to ask the bad female for help. On the other side, I, who was treating wounds by the stream, did not know what was happening in the house. In the space, there were many medicines for external wounds. After disinfecting, you just had to spray a little medicine to make it okay. To help the injuries in my body heal faster, I drank a large glass of spiritual spring water. The wounds began to heal considerably, remembering when I faced Ling An. The two cubs just stood aside. They didn't say anything. I shook my head with some resignation. It seems that the two offspring have a deep prejudice against the original owner of the body. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to ask about my situation. I was thinking. Then I heard footsteps. They are two puppies. Only when people were at a distance not too far from me did they show hesitation. The two hesitated and did not speak, so I had to turn around and look at them. What is Suan Hing and Suanan's affair with their mother? Suan Hing looked at me with some embarrassment. I stammered to speak. You? Can you go see Dad? The eyes of the two brothers were filled with uneasiness and expectation. They didn't think my injury was so serious. I couldn't help but feel guilty. Dad just hit the bad woman. Now she had the hard face to ask him to help the one who had hurt her. I waited a moment. I didn't hear my answer. The two little ones didn't hold a grudge against me. That bad female repays Dad with gratitude. Not rescuing is the normal operation. His expression became somber. I just turned around to leave. I frowned. I asked the two little ones, "Where are they going?" Suan-heen shot me a glance as she clenched her small fist. He pursed his lips and answered, "We prepare to go find the old servant to see Dad. Not to mention, the old servant is not exactly a great physician. The consultation fee was surprisingly expensive, although they don't have money. L quick leak glue. Selling yourself to the old servant could also make money." I was immediately speechless. Isn't it the grandson of the old deer the young man with deer horns who bothered sick children? If the two little ones really go to that black-hearted old man, they probably won't die, but they will suffer a lot. Although the two little guys are very defensive with me, but I can't bear to lift a finger over them. How could I allow others to have the opportunity to harass them? So even though I don't like Ling An, but for the two little ones, I can only temporarily suppress my discontent towards Ling An, thinking that I know a little bit of Chinese medicine that I can receive ordinary medicine. I beckoned to the two little ones, he said tenderly. "Come on, come with me to see your father." The two little ones never imagined that the bad female would accept. Her dark pupils seemed in an instant to be filled with the light of hope. Suddenly, a warm and comforting feeling appeared in her soft faces. I saw with my own eyes the change in the two little ones. The small reluctance in my heart disappeared instantly. I like to see in the faces of the two little ones an expression of joy, full of hope, taking advantage of the fact that the two little ones were still confused. I quickly crouched down to the two little guys. She kissed the little boy on the cheek. Suddenly, on his soft face, there was a warm and burning feeling. When the two little ones realized that the bad female had kissed them, instantly his cheeks flushed. I don't care what the two little guys look like. Grabbing each of the children by the hand, I went towards the room where Ling An lived. My mood suddenly improved. The two little ones who were being guided looked at each other. At the same time, they looked up at me. The two small hands were empty. I couldn't help but touch the spot where the bad female had given a stolen kiss. It seemed that this kiss was not really a kiss. In their soft and tender faces, bad females only looked down on them sometimes, since they were little. Evil females only looked down on them occasionally. I wished I wasn't in the same room, as far away as possible. I had never held his hands, much less had he given a kiss. It turns out that being kissed by Mom feels like that. It seems that this feeling is not so bad. I enter the house. Xin-Chin identified the sound of my footsteps. Joy came. Mom, the stars are waiting for you." Dad feels very bad, very bad. I reached out and touched the rounded surface of Sing Sing's egg. Sing Sing was there, calm. I stood by the bed to check on Ling An's condition. The two little ones were busy with Dad's high fever. It is more serious than before, that has been said. I looked at the water in the wooden basin next to me. I know the two little guys have definitely used it before. My own way of calming Ling An down. I'm just afraid that it's no use. That's why, worried, he came to me for help. After checking Ling An's physical condition, I decided to take some internal wound medicine out of the space. Then I told the two cubs to temporarily take care of Ling An, who was in a coma. I went out to make some simple pills. I'll be back in half an hour. Holding a sack of spiritual spring water and some laxative pills. Open Ling An's mouth. Use spiritual spring water to deliver the medicine to your stomach. And then I continued to use spiritual spring water to cleanse his exposed skin. I did both at the same time. Less than 2.5 minutes. Ling An, who was originally suffering, began to relax. The high fever in his body also began to dissipate. Even my breathing became normal and soft. Sing Sing cheered in disbelief. Dad is fine. Dad feels very comfortable now. Suan-Ching and Suan-An secretly looked at me. In his two pairs of clear eyes there was amazement. Clearly, before Dad was suffering so much that he almost wanted to die. Now, surprisingly, he has made a full recovery. Bad women are amazing. Even though it's a useless, degraded beast, it's still the most powerful useless beast. If he can continue like this with them, then the two brothers would have no problem calling him Mom. I'm also amazed by Ling An's resilience. Before, me and some of the puppies had used it. Self-healing has limitations. It couldn't have been so fast. Take a look outside. It's already night. There have been too many setbacks today. I didn't even have time to cook lunch. Some puppies must be hungry by now. Thinking that a family can't always. I ate the food stored in the space. It's been a long time. The little ones will begin to be suspicious, so I decided to go and set some traps nearby to see if there was any prey attached, turning around and about to leave the cabin. Behind me, a sound of hurried, familiar footsteps followed me. Suanjun was right next to me, looking at me with eyes big as grapes, but keeping her lips tight. I didn't say a word. I raised an eyebrow. I looked up at the bed where Suanan was holding Sing Sing. It seems that these two little guys have their own division of tasks. A man who takes care of his father and his sister M. You want to watch me. Suanjing, do you want to come with me? Suanjinga felt firmly. I'll help you carry the prey. Actually, in the hearts of the two cubs, they thought. How could that useless female catch any prey? The prey around the village of Duamanudo, captured by the orcs in the village of Daguahua. I don't know what Suanhing has in her mind. In addition, the prey has become more cunning. They are not easily caught. This female, fragile and delicate, has no hunting capacity. But today I saved his dad. That's why Swanghin decided to go out with me to look for food. If the two of us didn't manage to catch anything, he took me to pick Turian for lunch. I don't know what Sunhing is up to in his mind. I took his hand and we went out. As I left the cabin, I took a long stick that was leaning against the wall. One end of the stick was sharp. If we encounter a strong beast, the sharp stick can serve as a temporary weapon to protect us. If we do not find wild animals, the stick can also be used as a mountain pole or as a load. When my little hand was suddenly grabbed by an evil female, Xuanhin couldn't help but shake his body a little. He couldn't help but look at the clasped hands of the two. The woman's hands are soft and comfortable. Continuous warmth reached his small hand. Suddenly his eyes turned red. It turns out that this is the feeling of having a mother who takes care of you. That woman's hands are soft and comforting. In my free time, I walked the area of several kilometers around the house. Soon I found many wild animal tracks in the vicinity. So I prepared about 10 small traps early. The traps for the dam are placed close to home. I just need to check them from time to time. When he walked along the mountain forest path holding Xuanying's hand, it scared several rabbits that came out current. Even frogs and toads have fled far away, seeing that he had no intention of pursuing them. Suanchin pursed her lips slightly. Are bad females at this level? Can you really hunt something wild with this? But he soon regretted having thought so. I took his Anjin to the place where we had prepared the trap. I pushed the weeds away, only to see that in the small undergrowth there were 3 rabbits. Hearing our voice, the 3 gray rabbits were constantly fighting to escape. Unfortunately, his paws were firmly caught in the trap. There was no chance of them escaping. I easily untangled the 3 rabbits from the trap, but I saw that one was a little small. He looked like a bunny, so he threw it at him without thinking. Suanhing was shocked to see this scene. He reached out as if to catch him, but it was a step too late. He couldn't help but say, "Are you crazy? The rabbit that was so hard to find. Why did you leave one more?" Because Sing Sing is still in the egg. Special body. The amount you need for a meal is larger than that of an adult. These 3 hairs are not enough for a single meal for him. I looked at Xuanjing's puzzled expression. He handed her the 2 rabbits in her hand to hold. I patiently explained to him. That hair is still small. Only then did he realize, you will have more little ones. Xuanjing's strength, which cannot be transformed, is already weak. Usually finding some wild fruits is lucky. How am I going to worry about whether this hair will grow up? Sumanhing was extremely anxious. What if our family starves for this one hair? I heard what Sunhing was saying. That's when he realized. The little boy thought that these 3 hairs were all ones he had found by luck to ensure that all the members of the family have enough meat to eat. That is why his reaction was so simple. When thinking about the growing experience of the little ones, I feel a little sad. He squatted down and touched Swanhing's head. The hairs were not found by us here. They were caught by me. I've done several cheats like this. In a while we will collect more rabbits. Swanhing frowned. He clearly didn't believe what he was saying. I just thought I was looking for excuses to let the rabbits loose. I gripped the 2 rabbits in my hands tighter, but I didn't feel like explaining anymore either. Then I headed to the location of other traps. Half hour. Swanhing looked at the rope tied to 6 rabbits and 3 bush hens. He was completely stunned. It turns out that you can hunt like this. You just need to cheat and wait for the prey to fall. You don't need brute force to live eating meat. Finally, he also believed that what he said was true. I saw the smile on the little boy's mouth. I asked again, did you understand how these traps are made today? Swanhinga quickly felt, I've learned everything. Later, when we get back, I'll show it to my brother. When we returned to the gate with our full load, I saw his Han sheltered at the door, looking anxiously about him, fearing that he would lead him to sell his good brother. When I saw her Andine behind me, after carrying the wild chicken and rabbit, she was totally paralyzed. He never imagined that this bad female and her brother had brought so many wild rabbits and mountain roosters. Although Dad did. At best, he only brought 3 wild rabbits. How did this bad female manage to do it? Could it be that they traded them on the black market? Could it be that soon there will be a group of strong beasts? Let them come to your house and take them away, right? Seeing his brother approaching, Swanhing hurriedly smiled and waved at him. Suyan-han, come quickly to help me with the house. As his brother said this, Suan finally came to his senses, looked at his brother for 2 seconds, and didn't see any other emotion in his eyes. There was only happiness on his face. It was then that he took 2 wild and fat rabbits from his brother's hands. After returning home, I looked at the sun that was about to set behind the mountain, thinking about hurrying to process these preys. I leave 3 rabbits and a mountain rooster. The others I keep for now. Tomorrow morning I will process them. Then, conveniently, I start preparing the food. Pheasant stewed in a clay oven. Also, I add the cleaned wild mushrooms. Soon, an alluring scent came out of the clay bowl. This scent makes Sing Sing in the house ask nonstop, Mom, when will we be able to eat? I look at the little ones who drool with desire. I answer them laughing, when the soup is ready. Let me serve you something first. My hands don't stop. Quickly, I skewer the rabbit meat and mushrooms I chopped. I put them to roast over the fire. He took out the 5-spice powder he had pulled out of space. Sprinkle the skewers with the barbecue ingredients. The rabbit meat skewers, which were already very fragrant, suddenly seemed delighted. It has started to smell better. I put 10 skewers of rabbit meat, already roasted, in delivering the dish to the 2 puppies. I said softly, come on, eat. Freshly roasted rabbit skewers are the tastiest. Suan-jing, who had been by my side all the way, was already starving. Grab a bunch and put it in your mouth. Only after finishing a skewer did he pass the plate to his younger brother. No problem. Come on, eat. It tastes better than I thought. Hearing this, Sua-han, his eyes lit up. I immediately picked up a bunch and put it in my mouth. I watched them eat happily. He has also gained confidence inside. I will certainly be able to raise these 2 little ones well. The 2 little guys ate 2 skewers each. Then, I brought the remaining 6 skewers. The thatched hut was handed over to Ling An and Sing Sing. After I came back, I was busy processing the house. I haven't seen Ling An yet. I didn't know if he woke up. However, even if he had woken up, 6 rabbit skewers, to him, would probably only fill a small sword. In addition, there is also Sin-Sin. Sin-Sin's appetite is greater than that of the 2 cubs. Just as he was still grilling the skewers, suddenly I heard a voice screaming at the door. You useless! Dare to roast rabbit here? In our house we have lost 3 rabbits. Are you the one who stole them? Just after the words came out of his mouth, I saw several people enter the courtyard. At the helm is a very robust, middle-aged couple. Behind them came 2 middle-aged young men. One of the horns on the head of one of them is broken. Aren't those the people who mistreated my offspring that day? The middle-aged couple in front are the parents of the young man with the broken horn. The couple had thought of coming to avenge their calf, only that they had barely arrived near my house, I smelled a deadly smell. He immediately decided to smear me, then steal the rabbit meat, and then teach my offspring a lesson. I looked at this cheeky couple in front of me, I replied coldly. I caught the rabbit. It has nothing to do with you. As soon as I finished speaking, the servant clan couple started laughing, meeting people. Mountain rabbits are so cunning. You, who are good for nothing, you can run faster than them and keep catching rabbits. It's really baseless bragging. After saying this, he gave orders to the two young men behind him to go and get the rabbit meat skewers that were on the bathroom stove. They were handing out in the straw hut for Dad and sing, sing. The two puppies on the spikes heard the noise. They immediately ran to the window to look. Ling An also woke up at this hour. Looking at the two baby boys that were standing next to the bed, it seemed that there was something wrong, he asked hurriedly. Suan Hind, Suanan. What's going on? Suanan ran over worried and said, Dad, the Luzon family came to visit. They say that the rabbit that woman caught is the one that her family lost. They want to steal the rabbit and also beat that woman. Ling An's face darkened slightly. Little Sing Sing listened to her elder brother's words. He immediately spoke in defense of his mother. The Luzon family is so amazing. Dad, you have to help Mom. Suan Ching, by the window, saw the two of them. Young people want to steal their rabbit meat. Luzon's parents came even closer to teach that woman a lesson. His small fist had clenched without him noticing. Then he prepared to run out to help. But just as he reached the door, he was stopped by Lingan's stern voice. He can't say. Suan Hing's small body was paralyzed at the sound of his father's scream. He instantly froze. He looked confused at the father he admired the most. Why? Ling An saw that Suan Hin stopped his steps. The expression on his face finally relaxed. It's not impossible that a degraded beast would want to be stronger than a beast. Can you beat Liu Shan or Liu Shan's parents? Suan Hing was stunned by his father's question. Then the expression of indignation suddenly transformed into a look of loss. Dad was right. He is nothing but a degraded beast. At this moment, even if he were to run away, it would only bring trouble to that woman. His expression of indignation immediately turned to deep disappointment. He walked 2 steps to Suan Hing's side. He reached out and touched Suan Hing's head. She said to reassure him, Suan Hing, you are still small. You don't have to rush. When you grow up, he will be more powerful than all the beasts in the village of Rice. Saying this, Ling An's eyes flashed with a sinister look. It's not impossible that a degraded beast would want to be more powerful than a beast. It's just a difficult process. In her past life, her 2 little ones struggled to become strong, and they did not know how much suffering they went through. But in the end, it was all in vain. Later, he found the right method. Unfortunately, their young were already weakened. They died tragically at the hands of the enemy. In this life, he would not allow the little ones to be in danger. Suanan, who was standing next to her, looked at her father. On his adorable face, the frown. She felt that her father did not want her brother to go out to help that woman, not just because he and his brother were weak. There seemed to be other reasons. After Sun Hing learned about her ability, he held back from going out and causing more trouble for that woman. But let him see this woman being punished by the Luzon family. He felt very sad in his heart. In the end, Sun Jin couldn't hold back. He looked up at his father, tall and erect. Dad, can you go help her? She, no matter how bad she was before. But today, after all, he saved Dad. Ling An didn't expect her calf to ask for help for that evil woman. There was a small change in his feelings towards me. He looked out the window at that small figure in the courtyard. His eyes narrowed slightly. He was sure that the woman in front of him was not the same as in his previous life. But he did not know why such a change had occurred. What if it were reborn? What if he had hidden even more? Now he dared not be sure of anything. This opportunity to be reborn was not easy. He wouldn't let him and his calf go through the same end as in the previous life. For him, the safety of the little ones is the most important thing. There was a subtle and cunning gleam in Ling An's eyes. Then his body staggered weakly, he said with a bitter smile. Suan Hing. It's not that Dad doesn't want to help her. It's just that right now, Dad can't do anything either. Ling An. His body staggered. Xuanjing felt that. It's small. He can only hug Dad's calf. He tries to use his small body to stabilize Dad. Take another look. It was my lack of consideration. He also remembers how Dad suffered during the exaltation of blood. The little boy was immediately embarrassed. With Dad like that, I still didn't let him go out to help. Isn't that forcing, Dad? Suang Hing said embarrassedly. Dad, I'm sorry. It was my fault for not considering all aspects. Ling An squatted down. I hugged Xuanjing, little one, in my arms. Never mind. Dad knows that Xuanjing is worried. Is it okay like this? If that woman loses too much, Dad scared Mountain Deer's family by using his beastly form. I didn't expect Dad to be so weak. Even so, he is willing to protect that bad female for him. Suan Hing, moved, hugged Dad's neck. His eyes turned red. It's all my son's fault. Later the child will become stronger. I will definitely protect Dad well. It will drive away all the wicked. For Lingan, transforming into a beast in this physical state is very dangerous, because bestialization consumes energy from the very beginning. Now he has no strength. It is likely that after transforming into a beast, he will not be able to return to his human form. Suanan was standing on the other side of Dad. He didn't say anything. His naturally smiling eyes flickered. I couldn't quite believe that Dad would really, for that woman's sake, use his beast form. Inside the thatched hut. Deep and warm relationship between father and son. But, at that time, little Sing Sing broke the atmosphere. Dad. You're lying. Hearing these words, Ling An was stunned. He looked at his daughter, who was still an egg. Little Sing Sing is not afraid of him, he said in an angry tone. Dad, you're lying. Your body is fine now. You could help Mom without a problem. Dad doesn't help Mom. Little Sing Sing tells Mom not to give Dad delicious things. Ling An, helpless and amused, comforted Jin Jin. All right. She doesn't make food for Dad. Dad will go get his own food. When he returns, he will bring little Shin Jin a lot of rich things. Little Sing Sing realized that her threat was of no use in front of Dad. She made a sound of discontent, irritated. He doesn't want to listen to Dad. Dad doesn't help Mom. When she grows up and hatches, she will protect Mom herself. He won't let those bad guys get Mom into trouble again. At that time, I outside heard behind me that there was no noise in the hut, knowing that Ling An has woken up. Otherwise, the two children would not have been inside for so long. The two puppies did not come out, which indicates that he does not want to help. And she also does not let the little ones intrude. I'm looking at the horned young man heading towards the mud stove. I was just thinking of getting closer. I really dodged the punch of Susan's mother. I raised my fist to my chest, looking at the fist coming towards me. Instinctively, I leaned down. Then, he turned his body nimbly. He even managed to dodge Luzon's mother's fist like this. And that fist, because of its great strength, it hit a thigh-thick tree directly behind me. Immediately, the leaves began to fall. You could see how powerful that fist was. The man next to him suddenly became furious. At that moment, the three men were standing in Paja's house watching the fight. The three of them, father and sons, were with expressions of astonishment. Suan Hing's eyes were wide open. He never thought he could dodge easily. So he dodged Susan's mother's punch. This is not the same as fighting the old servant. Luzon's parents were trained and taken to the meeting place and mastered many combat techniques. They are one of the main defenders of the people of Diogwa. But still, this woman was able to dodge. This indicates that this woman is not as useless as rumored. The two little ones are proud of their parents' strength. I felt the stares watching me from the thatched hut behind me, but now I have no energy to worry. I picked up some stones. He threw it in the direction of Mount Lu. Even if Luzon's father's reaction speed was fast, he only managed to stop 2 small stones. The other 3 hit the 2 young men exactly. The hands approaching the rabbit meat immediately withdrew as the 2 stopped to check their wounds. Lushan noticed that his hand was cut off, and he had a bleeding wound. The young man with sheep's horns was also seriously injured. When you look up and see Luzon's nose, he was so scared that he started crying. Luzon, you have a crooked nose, thinking that he had broken a horn. Now even the nose is crooked. Luzon suddenly felt that there was no hope in his life as a servant. She began to cry inconsolably. Dad and Mom, this one that always harasses me, they have to avenge me. Luzan's father immediately ran up to me and kicked me. When he lifted his leg to kick, he created a gust of wind. If he had hit me, he probably would have shattered my internal organs. I moved quickly to dodge, and then he bent his body down. And I also raised my leg, attacking the lower part of the body of Luzan's father. He lost control and fell backwards. His body hit the ground hard. I wiped the dust off my hands. Luzan's mother quickly went to help her husband. She rolled her eyes. He saw the roasted rabbit meat that was on the shelf of the earthen stove. He said intentionally, "You're a wretch. He must have stolen the secret recipe for the village chief's barbecue. Wait a minute, we are going to ask the mayor to decide." After saying that, the couple supported each other and walked out of the yard. Luzan and the young ram also ran quickly. The Luzan family has just left the yard. The two hatchlings quickly ran out of the straw hut. Suan Hing was looking at me impatiently. I realized that I was covered in dust and that I was not injured. This is a little reassuring. Suanen looked at me anxiously with his big eyes open. What will happen if Luzan's parents really tell the mayor? I didn't imagine that the pups would ask me this question. The mayor, being part of the monkey clan, is from the large family of the village of Aroz. They are not as easy to deal with as the parents of Saint Servant. I didn't answer Suanen's question directly, but asked her back. Even if I thought so, what do you think we should do to deal with the villagers' difficulties? Asking him in this way, always as cautious as an older brother, Suanan began to reflect. Suanam thought seriously and said, "Although the village chief, surely it is because of our recipe. We can make a deal with the recipe with the villager. So wouldn't the problem be solved?" I looked at my little one and realized that he really cared about me, feeling warmth in my heart. What she didn't expect was that the little boy was even smarter than she imagined. Suanan was not wrong. Let's not talk about whether the village chief will believe what Luzan's parents say. Even if they believed, now I have cards that I can use to negotiate with the mayor. I replied, smiling. Then, we will do what your Anan says. Suanan was stunned. He wasn't expected to really adopt his opinion. I went back to the stove and relit the fire that had gone out. The rabbit meat that was almost ready to roast. It wasn't long before it started to give off a smoky aroma. A pleasant aroma wafted inside the peace hut. Ling An, who was standing by the window, was carried away by this fragrance. His body couldn't stop the water from flowing again. Ling An was afraid that by staying by the window she wouldn't be able to resist. Go out and ask the bad woman for meat. So he decided to turn around and lie down next to the bed again. He pretended he hadn't gotten up yet. Maybe that woman would come in later and see him. He would realize that he hadn't woken up yet. You might leave some food next to it. This way, you wouldn't have to order roast meat to eat. It wouldn't be wonderful. Little Sing Sing, who was lying next to her, understood what her father was thinking. The little girl was still upset because her father had not helped her mother, he said angrily. Isn't it true that Dad doesn't like the roast meat that Mom makes? Are you sure? The little star has a very good appetite. It will help Dad eat all the meat. He won't leave anything for Dad. Ling An looked at the small star in front of him with a helpless look on his face. When did her obedient little star become so problematic? It wasn't long. The mountain rooster mushroom soup and rabbit meat were ready. It wasn't just a few little ones. I, who have just spent a little energy, am also hungry. I served 2 bowls of chicken soup first. And I gave him the rabbit leg that I just roasted. The 2 little ones took him. Smiling, I reminded the 2 of them to eat quickly, but the 2 little ones did not decide to act. Suan Hing turned to the direction of the thatched hut. It meant that Dad and Jin Qin hadn't eaten yet. But thinking about what had happened recently, when the words came to my mouth, they became, Shinshin hasn't eaten yet. Notice Xuan Ying's awkward expression. To Shintiobi he said, "You guys eat first. There's a lot of chicken soup left. Then we will reserve 2 rabbits' feet. Enough for Shinshin to eat." Suan Hind also wanted to ask what Dad would eat. But when he saw that I said this, he did not dare to say anything more. The 2 little guys raised their bowls and took a sip of chicken mushroom soup. The delicious taste immediately burst into our taste buds. His eyes instantly widened. Suanan even thought that if I wanted to, By selling chicken soup on the black market, I could feed my family. This is much better than Dad going out hunting every day. I watched them eat happily. I started eating too. In a short time, the three of us finished. A whole roast rabbit and half a jar of chicken soup. I looked at the whole roast rabbit left and about 10 skewers of rabbit meat. I called the two little guys to help me carry him to the thatched hut. I entered the house carrying half a jar of chicken soup. Entering the house, I saw that Ling An was lying down with his eyes closed. I figured since he was pretending to sleep, I didn't have to call him, to avoid discomfort. Then he came to the bedside. I held the stars on the table by the window. He placed the chicken soup and shredded rabbit meat next to his eggshell. Let it absorb it well. Sing Sing when she saw that it was me who was holding her. He immediately asked with concern, "Mother, did you get hurt just now? Did you finish off the bad guys?" I gently touched the shiny shell of little Sing Sing. I replied sweetly, "Mother is not hurt. The bad guys have been scared away by their mother. Sing Sing key out quietly. Mother will protect you." Little Sing Sing was absorbing quickly. In the blink of an eye, the roast rabbit disappeared. 2 bowls of chicken soup are also gone. Seeing that Sing Sing finished eating, I held her and prepared to return her to bed. But this little girl immediately started pouting. "Mother, tonight, little Sing Sing wants to sleep with you. I don't want to sleep with Dad." I thought I had already tidied up the thatched hut next door. It's okay to sleep with Sing Sing, so I agreed. Ling An, who was pretending to sleep on the side, heard this. He was concerned and wanted to intervene immediately, but he didn't dare to wake up at that moment. If only he woke up now. So those lies from before could not be hidden. So he decided to keep pretending he was asleep. When that woman took Sing Sing to sleep in the next room, she could secretly look a few times. That way he wouldn't be afraid that this woman had bad intentions with Sing Sing. What Ling An didn't know was that when I agreed that Sing Sing could sleep with me, beside him 2 cubs looked on with bright eyes, a hint of envy that they themselves had not noticed. Lito will finish his meal. But I didn't want to worry about Ling An. He picked up the remaining chicken broth and went back to his room. This chicken soup can still be used to make porridge in the morning. In reality, it is an open cultivation area. I, on the other hand, took Sing Sing to the next room. The satisfied Sing Sing fell asleep in an instant. I lay down on the bed and my consciousness slowly sank into my own space. Since the last time I entered space and gained a spiritual source, I haven't had time to observe carefully as I enter space these days. Now that I've entered, although I'm still surrounded by a fog of dark colors, I have a feeling that this space is bigger than the last time I entered. Walking forward, I came to the place where the previous registration button was. The registration button this time not only showed the reward of the day, but he could also see the rewards for the next 6 days. Looking at what the 7th day reward showed, it is an open cultivation area. Remembering the novel she had read, where the protagonist had a huge space for cultivation and unlimited resources, I couldn't help but press the button. The fog in front of me slowly began to dissipate. No one has entered space to take a look. I picked it up and weighed it, about half a pound. I don't know if the rice produced in space will be tastier than the one I had previously in space. At that moment, all of a sudden, I regretted being so busy these days. No one has entered space to take a look. Otherwise, I could have planted my crops sooner. Thinking about that, I left the space. I returned to my own body. At that moment, a tall figure passed by the window. That figure, that body, who else could it be if not Ling An? I closed my eyes and pretended to be fast asleep. But my hand had already grabbed the knife that I had left under the beast skin blanket. He planned to see what Ling An wanted to do by sneaking into the room. At that moment, Ling An had his fists clenched tightly. Thinking about how that woman from my past life had torn Sing Sing to pieces, he didn't believe that that evil woman would truly change. Gloop, gloop. The sudden noise that came from his stomach interrupted Ling An's thoughts. People are iron. Food is steel. I'm hungry if I don't eat. Ling An thought that it seemed that there was still half a jar of chicken soup left for the night, so he lifted his foot and crept in. He saw Sing Sing sleeping peacefully. His heart, which was tense, relaxed a little. The moonlight streaming in through the window, Ling An clearly saw the face of the woman sleeping under him. In the past life, It was this woman who gave him. It brought him endless suffering. At that moment, the idea of hatred arose in his mind. He raised his hand, ready to strangle the woman's neck, when I saw that she was about to grab my neck. Little Sing Sing's voice suddenly rang out. "Daddy, don't kill my mother." Ling An looked at little Sing Sing waking up and stopped her movement. He said softly, "Sing Sing, you've woken up already." After speaking, he took a look at the woman. He noticed that his eyes were still closed. He was finally relieved. He thought that, thank goodness he hadn't woken up. Otherwise, I wouldn't really know how to explain this scene. Little Sing Sing happily rolled the whole egg one turn. She said, still confused, "Father, what are you doing here? Do you want to sleep with your mother?" Ling An was suddenly speechless. He thought that if it wasn't for little Sing Sing, he couldn't help but wish to kill that woman immediately. I don't want to answer the strange questions of the stars. Instead, he asked, "Little Sing Sing, what did you just say?" Little Sing Sing had question marks all over the egg. "Dad, you're so strange. If you want to sleep with your mother, sleep. Why do you ask so many strange things?" Then, he said in a childlike voice, "If it weren't for the noise of Dad's belly." Little Sing Sing was still in a beautiful dream. In the dream, the mother made Sing Sing a lot of delicious food. Looking at Sing Sing's naive expression, there are black lines on Lin An's forehead. He thought that tonight he would leave that bad woman alone. As for what will happen next, I'll see how he behaves. Ling An looked around the room. When he saw the clay jar that was in the corner, he walked gently over there. He lifted the clay pot. Sing noticed his father's movement. He pressed his lips. But wasn't Dad hungry? Why does he come to look for food? Ling An's mouth twitched. He thought that little girl was getting more and more naughty. He could only explain in a confusing way. Dad is afraid that the temperature will rise at night. The chicken soup will spoil if left inside. I'll leave it out. Watching Ling An walking towards the door, Sing continued to ask, "Will Dad sleep with Mom again?" Ling An felt that his patience was about to burst out. "I will not be coming back. Your two brothers are still by your side. I have to take care of them tonight." When he saw that Dad had already left through the door, little Sing Sing muttered, "Father, liar. The older brother and second brother don't need Dad to take care of them. They rather take care of Dad. Dad just wants to eat the chicken soup that Mom makes. That's why he can't fool Sing Sing." After leaving the room, Ling An finally heaved a sigh of relief. Chicken soup is always smuggled out. You don't worry about heating chicken soup before drinking it. Sitting on the patio, I opened the ceramic jar and drank every last drop. Ling An cautiously didn't forget to throw the chicken bones out of the yard. After washing the pot thoroughly, he returned to the room. He lay down in bed, but he couldn't sleep. He thought that this bad woman's skills were really good. He was even more curious about the taste of roast rabbit. The next day, very early, I looked at the courtyard. Inside was a completely clean clay jar. Let's not talk about chicken. Not a spoonful of chicken soup is left. So I raised my voice and started talking to myself. Did I forget to bring the chicken soup inside last night? Did that little rascal drink it all? How come I don't even see a chicken bone? At that time, half a jar of chicken soup had been consumed in the house. Ling An was holding on so hard that his face was completely red. This evil woman. Who says he's a little rascal? I'll wait for the bloodline transformation to finish. I'll go catch 10 chickens and throw them in your face. Suang Hind and Suan Han looked at each other. They remembered that last night, at midnight, it seemed that they smelled. Dad smells like chicken soup. After venting, I didn't care anymore. I washed the pot again. I took out the rice obtained when I signed yesterday. Then I scraped a few pieces of chicken and put them in the pot to cook a porridge. After finishing breakfast, I was thinking of going to the black market near Auror's village. Now the house is empty. There are not many things. Just now that I have more prisoners. Take them to the black market and see what things I can exchange for them. Taking advantage of the time while the rice is cooking with water, I processed the 3 rabbits that were left over from yesterday. I have also processed 2 wild hens. I'm getting ready to grill it directly and take it to the black market to sell. Roasted rabbits and chickens will be ready soon. After an hour, the day will be fully illuminated. This way, you won't be late to the black market. At this time, the 2 little guys were also helping. To one side, helping me pick up the rabbit skins and chicken feathers. Swang looked at me as I emptied the sack of rice. He thought he had finished the rice he had brought from my mother's house. "I'm afraid I won't have rice to eat anymore." Looking at me worriedly, he advised me, "Rice is expensive. It doesn't matter if we eat a little less." I could see the concern in the little ones. I stroked his head and smiled. "It's okay. You are at the age of growing up. Eat what you need to eat. After eating, I'll go to the black market to buy more." Saying this, I pointed to the pheasants and rabbits that were roasting next door. I told the little ones that they will take this in a moment, to exchange it for noodles and make them bows to eat. Swang and Suanan were stunned to hear me. Before, I always made them look for food, and he scolded them for being useless. Now, everything has changed. I have to buy them food. The two little guys couldn't believe their ears. Also, in the whole village of Dawaku, I don't think there are many families. Wealthy families can afford noodles. They have grown up without having tasted it once. It's really hard to imagine how he knows what I'm saying. The meat vessels I mentioned. Suang Hint thought about the cheating we did together yesterday. In the future, there will be rabbits and pheasants non-stop. I know that now, these wild rabbits and wild chickens. Then he turned around and explained everything to the two little ones. Quick roasted rabbit and pheasant. I took the leaves I picked and wrapped the meat to put in the backpack, just as he was handing out the porridge to the little ones. Sing Sing, surprisingly, ended by itself. Half a jar of chicken porridge was finished. I couldn't help but caress Sing Sing's little head. I could only hug her and put her next to Ling An. He also left some spiritual spring water for Ling An, just in case his fever couldn't go down. Then he turned around and explained everything to the two little ones. He grabbed his backpack and headed for the black market. Not long after I left, the man on the bed opened his eyes. Sing Sing, leaning by her father's side, was not surprised at all. Only the two little ones still didn't understand what was happening. Suang Hing said regretfully, "Father, she just went out on the black market. He probably won't be back until noon." "Ling An," he nodded with a serious face. I got out of bed and walked around the yard. I looked at him again and again next to the clay stove. He found that there was nothing except a few empty jars. In the morning, when I was in bed, clearly he had sniffed the aroma of food. He also heard the little ones talking about some kind of chicken porridge. Was there nothing left? The two little ones who followed him were watching their father's actions. Suddenly, they understood that their father was looking for food. Suang Hind and Suan An looked at each other and lowered their heads. They didn't know how to tell their father. Ling An knocked. That is why he dared to ask the two little ones. Did Zhuangjing and Zhuangnan eat anything in the morning? Swang Hind looked at his little brother next to him. "Father, we've already eaten." Ling An then asked, "What did they eat? Are you hungry now?" "We ate the rice and chicken that woman made. It was very good. We ate until we were full. Now we are not hungry." As expected, that evil woman actually cooked, only he didn't want to give it to him and intentionally hid it, he said indignantly. "Father hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. He's already a little hungry. Is there still any of this morning's arroz con pollo?" Ling An. It is the first time he has asked the little ones for food. After saying it, he felt his face burn uncontrollably. Suang Hing and Suanan were a little surprised. They didn't expect father to say that. The two brothers are not stupid either. Last night's mountain rooster mushroom soup was completely consumed by father. Father is clearly talking nonsense with his eyes open. Suanan grimaced. "Father, is this making your mouth water?" He mercilessly destroyed the desire for food in Dad's stomach. This morning's shredded chicken porridge was delicious. Little Sing Sing couldn't control herself. He absorbed all the chicken porridge that was left. Ling An was a little speechless. So sure enough, Sing Sing always gives Dad a hard time. He explained uncomfortably. Well, forget it. Dad can still endure without eating a meal. In the meantime, I had already arrived at the black market. The black market is near a pavilion 5 miles outside of the rice village. It is open every 3 days. Those who come to the black market to trade and buy are orcs from nearby villages. On the black market, there are guardian orcs who patrol to protect the area. To enter the black market, you need to deliver an Orcish copper coin. I took out the copper I had prepared. Upon entering the black market, he only saw several half-human orcs coming and going. Orcs of various semi-bestial forms. They carried baskets on their backs and carried weight on their shoulders. On both sides, they were also filled with all kinds of stalls. We didn't walk much, and I saw what I wanted. This is a position of an old woman from the tribe of monkeys. In front of me were clothes made of different kinds of canvas, although the work and style were very simple. Even so, it was what the little ones needed most at home. Ling An's clothes were also torn to pieces. He also needed to buy her an outfit, although he didn't have much appreciation for Ling An. But, after all, he is the father of the little ones. Let's consider it like paying off the original owner's debt. I approached and asked for the price of the linen clothes. The old lady explained the prices to me. 3 copper coins for 1 large piece. It was my first time on this black market, so I don't know if this price is expensive. So I thought I'd trade what I had in my hands. But the old woman shook her head. Here, I accept copper coins. If you have something, you can sell it first and exchange it for copper coins, and then buy. I didn't ask any more questions. He turned to the stall next to him. The answer I got was similar to the one the old woman gave me. It seems that this is the price of hemp clothing sold on this black market. I arrived at the largest black market stall. It is a stall that sells roast meat. This is the only stall with a docile. There are some simple tables and benches. I walked over and asked the clerk the price of the roast meat. I learned that a hand-sized piece of roast meat costs 1 copper coin, so an adult orc would need to eat 4 or 5 pieces to feel satisfied. But still, the business of this stall is still the best in the entire black market, because the roast meat from this stall is the most delicious in the entire black market. Unfortunately, I don't have money now to buy a piece and try it out. So I got to the end of the street. I learned to spread a piece of thick cloth on the ground, like the others. Then I took the wild rabbit and rooster out of my basket. I've already separated the rabbits and faisans at home. Half a rabbit for 2 copper coins, half a mountain rooster, 3 copper coins. This is the price I consider most appropriate after taking a walk. I've also prepared some roast rabbit scraps, and roast rooster scraps are next door. They can be offered to customers who pass by to test. I haven't started selling yet. The scent of pheasant and rabbit begins. A drift to the end of the black market. The straw sandal vendor next to him couldn't sit still anymore. I couldn't help but approach and ask, "Big sister, how much does this roaster cost?" I looked at the salesman in front of me, an orc pig. She had a robust figure and a rounded belly. Surely in his daily life he does not lack good meals. I pointed to the roast rabbit and roast rooster in front of me. Roasted rooster, half for 3 copper coins. Half a roast chicken costs 3 copper coins. The orc pig flashed his eyes and said, smiling, "Sister, let's talk for a moment. I only have 2 copper coins. Better that way. I offer you 2 copper coins plus 3 pairs of sandals. How about swapping that out for half a roast chicken? My sandals are very well made. I always sell 2 pairs for a copper coin. I'll give you the extra pair." I took a look at the stall next door. The sandals look really sturdy and durable. In fact, it's worth the price, the seller said. After looking at them, I asked, 3 pairs of sandals? Can I choose them as I want? All right, I don't care about the size of the shoes here. They all have the same price. Sister, you just need to agree. Choose what you want. So I wrapped half a roast chicken in leaves and passed it to him. The orc also gave me 2 copper coins. He handed me the sandals he chose, tightly tied. Turning around, I noticed that the orc pig was already hugging the roast chicken and starting to eat it. The orc vendor is clearly a great foodie. Upon tasting it, I found that this roast chicken was better than on the black market. The grill in the center is 10 times more delicious. If this roast chicken was on that grill, you probably wouldn't get it for 10 copper coins. The vendors around also know that the orc pig is a glutton. I couldn't help but look up as I ate. Immediately someone came up to ask, "What is the old man eating that smells too? Where did you buy it? Can't you let us try?" The old man looked up quickly. He pointed to my post. "This girl bought it here. She doesn't have much barbecue. If you want, buy it quickly. It is already too late." My post was surrounded by orcs in an instant. Before long, I sold half a roast chicken and half a roast rabbit, but because the stall is on the corner of the street. These customers attracted by old Suans quickly left. the old man who had already finished half a chicken. Sue still drools looking at my stall. I thought that such business only happened because of Brother Sue, so I scratched a rabbit leg and passed it to him. Old man didn't expect that he would give him a rabbit's foot. Immediately, he promised enthusiastically, "Sister, next time you come to the black market, I'll help you get a good spot." The old man was talking to himself. Suddenly, a group of orcs approached my post. I saw that this group of orcs arrived in front of the post. They began to gossip and riot. "Sister, bring me half a roast chicken." "Salesman, half a roast rabbit." "A portion of roast chicken and a portion of roast rabbit, please." At one point, so many customers came in that I was a little disoriented. I only noticed when I saw that there were regulars in the crowd. They were surely brought by customers who had just shopped. Today, in fact, I hadn't prepared much. Just for a moment. All the roast chicken and roast rabbit were sold, and some orcs arrived late and couldn't buy. To thank these orcs who took care of the business, I shared the meat I had prepared to try with everyone. I couldn't buy it before, so I don't feel bad. But after tasting a bite, everyone felt regretful. I didn't think there was anything better than roast meat on this black market. There's even roast chicken and roast rabbit that are more delicious. Even the rabbit fur and chicken feathers next to it. They were also bought by the orcs they were supporting. Before leaving, everyone didn't forget to remind me that next time, I must prepare more. Everything was sold. After I picked everything up, I thanked Otsu. And I happily went to the stall where I sold the hemp tunics. This time, I won a total of 29 coins. Copper coins plus 3 pairs of straw sandals. If this money is used to buy rice on the black market, it would be enough for a family to eat for a week. Walking through the black market. The 29 hot coins I just got. Only 2 copper coins remain. The backpack behind me is already filled to the brim. Sing Sing, curious, arrived at the barbecue shop downtown. He bought a piece to try. I lost my appetite after just one bite. I finally understood why Old Man Sue was eating so hastily. The quality of this barbecue stand, which has the best business, is really mediocre. I didn't want to waste. I wrapped the barbecue and put it back in my backpack, thinking that the house prey had all been sold on the black market today. The traps have also been set for a day, so I planned to check a bit on the way back. I arrived at the place where I had set the traps. I did a tally of the winnings this time. In total, 8 fat wild rabbits and 4 wild hens. When I got close to home, I had arrived more than 3 hours late than planned. On the other side, Ling An, who had been hungry for half a day. He hadn't arrived at noon and had already begun the transformation of the bloodline, and the 2 little ones were still at the door, watching and waiting for my return. It was the star in the room who remembered that Dad had a problem. The 2 little guys quickly ran back to the room with the spirit water I had prepared this morning. They soaked the towel to give to Dad, but he was dodged by Ling An. He said faintly to the little ones, "Swanghing doesn't need to exert himself. It doesn't make sense. Because before, when I helped Ling An cool down, he was unconscious. I didn't even know I was using spirit water. I thought it was just regular lake water." Thinking that the water of the lake in winter would not serve for his high fever, will this little piece of wet towel be useful? The 2 little girls saw that Dad refused. It's not good to disobey Dad. So Ling An beckoned to his brother. I planned to wait until Dad was really hurting. He's wiping Dad with a cloth. Anyway, at that moment the father couldn't resist either. It is already past noon, but outside there is still no movement. Sing Sing, who was next to her, began to get a little anxious. Older brother, younger brother, mother hasn't returned yet? Swanjing, seeing her sister's concern, quickly reassured her. "Sing Sing, don't get anxious. It is barely past noon. That woman walks slowly. Wait a little longer, and you'll be back." Only then, Sing Sing smiled and nodded. "I know, big brother. When mother comes back, you have to tell Sing Sing." Lingan, lying on the bed, looked at the 2 little guys. In his heart, he thought that the woman had probably returned. I will never go back to my mother's house. The 2 little ones were still waiting with hope for my return. They hoped that he would bring them something from the black market. Every few minutes they would run to the door to look, but the afternoon was approaching and the expected person had not yet returned. The expressions of the 2 little ones went from expectation to disappointment. I thought I had left them and run back to my mother's house. I walked back home and ran all the way. The little ones looked at me in surprise. Wasn't this woman supposed to have come back to her mother's house? Why did he come back with so many things? But the one who reacted first in the family was little Sing Sing. She said cheerfully, "Mother, mother, you're back. Little Sing Sing misses you so much." Doing this, little Sing Sing, Suanghin, and Suanan immediately let go of Dad's arms. They quickly rushed to me. It could be seen clearly. The two little ones, who used to have dull eyes. At that moment they shone again. The little ones looked at the rabbit and the rooster on one side. Then they reacted and said, "You came back because you went to check on the way back. Is that why you were delayed until now?" As he said this, the two little ones, Ling An just noticed the wild rabbits and chickens on the ground. Last time, Xuanhind and Xuan An had already mentioned it. That woman taught them how to use traps to catch wild rabbits and chickens. He still didn't believe it. I thought it was only that woman's luck. But today he brought more rabbits and chickens than last time. This made him have to believe what the two babies had said earlier. Suanan saw so much prey, he quickly asked, "We're not going to be able to finish these chickens and rabbits tonight, are we? Let's deal with it now." I looked at the messy clothes of the two babies. I took out of the basket the clothes I bought for the babies. I told them to hurry up and try on their clothes. If there is something inappropriate, we will correct it later. Before the two little guys recovered from the sock, I pulled out 2 more pairs of small shoes and put them in front of them. The two pups had never worn shoes. Feet that were once delicate are now covered with calluses. I was even more surprised to see the shoes in front of me. The two little ones were touching the new clothes in their hands. They didn't move for a long time. Seeing that they did not react, I gently insisted on them. "What are you waiting for? Get jealous and try yourself." Only then did they put on their new clothes and shoes. Sing beside him, he was also happy for his two brothers. The new clothes and shoes from Dajae and Erjae look really good. Sing Sing's eggshell, waiting for little Sing Sing to come out. Mother would make a dress for Sing Sing to wear, while the two little ones admired each other in their new clothes. I took out a piece of the basket on my back, the clothes and shoes worn by adult orcs. Although Lingan was always looking at me, but he never thought that those clothes were for him. He just thought it was something he had bought for me. I went on to say, "When I moved you back, I damaged your clothes. This is compensation for you." Ling An listened to my words. In his eyes, there was a little more distrust and evaluation. I look at the man in front of me with this dead expression. If it weren't for the little ones being here, I'd really want to roll my eyes at it. Little Sing Sing didn't hear her father speak. She fears that she is not happy. He quickly came out to soften the situation. "Mother, Dad must be very happy to receive the new clothes. I can't even speak. Also, I'm too tired to argue with him. In the evening, I took out the flour I bought today on the black market. I took the little ones to eat their first bowl of noodles in life, after picking up the utensils. Then I took Sing Sing to sleep in the next room. Who would have known that at midnight thunder rumbled? Outside, it suddenly began to rain buckets. The room where Sing Sing and I were instantly had only the walls. The roof was torn off. With no options, I could only hug Sing Sing and go back to sleep in the next room. After entering the house for a long time, I didn't hear Ling An's voice, thinking about Ling An's performance the past 2 days. I should be with an unpleasant expression throwing me back. Thinking of this, he walked to Lin Yang's bed. Looking down, I was scared. The man in front of me had clearly already lost consciousness. The pattern of flames on his forehead glowed red. I reached out to check the temperature of his forehead, thinking about how Ling An had behaved these past 2 days. Fortunately, at that moment, several of the children were asleep. I took spiritual water out of space. He wet a towel to help cool down. He also took a fever pill out of the space and mixed it with water from the spiritual spring. I administered the medicine. Half an hour later, the flame pattern between Ling An's eyebrows finally disappeared. After being restless all night,